Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we have another IELTS writing task 1. Like a London bus, you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait for one and suddenly there are two at the same time. So, I like checking writing task 1. I'm less familiar with it, I will be honest, but still I know a lot about it. But let's take a look at this. We'll take a bit of time looking at this information. So the line graph and pie chart below show information on crime in the UK for the last year. For last year and for the last year, those are two different things. For the last year means like the last 12 months. So right now, if it's October the 26th, this means it's from like October 27th, 2023 to October 26th, 2024. That's the last month. In the last year, which is different to last year, because right now it's 2024, and just last year without the means it's about 2023. So it's for the last year. So we would expect probably more present perfect than past simple, but I don't think I will mark the candidate harshly if they use past simple here. But an interesting little thing to note. Okay, so firstly, we see the relationship between age and crime. Let's just zoom in on this so you can see it more clearly. Nope. What about this? Is that better? Yeah, slightly. Just slightly across. That's nice. Okay. And, cool. So, the relationship between age and crime Oh, but this says last year, not for the last year. So, that's strange. Okay, let's just think of it as last year then. So, what do we see? Well, it's kind of strange because it's a line graph. Now, usually, line graph at the x-axis across the bottom, usually you have time here, and so that creates like what we call a dynamic chart, how something changes over time. But this isn't dynamic, so we don't see words like rise sharply or fall suddenly or plateau and things like this. Kind of strange. I wouldn't expect to see that kind of language because it's actually a static thing. It's about 1 year but with different ages. So I don't know, maybe you could say, it looks like the line is climbing according to the graph, but in real terms, there is no climbing and dropping. So I don't know if we could say the rate of crime rose or the rate of crime dropped because it's static, not dynamic. But difficult bits of information here. Okay, so we see the ages all the way from age 0 up to the age of 64 on the x-axis, and on the y-axis, I hope I'm getting x and y correct, I think I am. On the y-axis, we see the number of crimes in the tens of thousands. So 0, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Key features that stand out here for me, it's this group right here. So from the age of, I'd say from the age of like 16 up to 20 down to, I think this line here about 22. Yeah. So between 16 and 22, those are the people who are really responsible for, an extremely significant amount of crime. And then the later ages. So anyone from the age of 28 onwards doesn't really commit crimes, and anyone under the age of about, let's say, under the age of about 13 also doesn't really commit many crimes. Okay, and then we get the types of crime. So we have 4 different types. The red shows violent crime, blue shows property crime. That could be, I guess, burgling, stealing from someone's house, something like this, or damaging property, I guess. Maybe even stealing property, I don't know. Yellow shows drug crime, and the green shows public order crime. So public order is like you're out in the street, you're demonstrating, and you start a fight, or you break a shop window, or you cause some trouble in public. Very often, if you're drunk in public, you might, start a fight or make some noise or create some problems for other people, and that's public order. But the candidate doesn't need to know this. You don't have to go into detail and explain what these crimes are. I just thought I would add it just for context. But okay. So not the easiest bits of information to deal with. The candidate unfortunately hasn't sent me the question like where it said it only shows. Oh, she's only sent me this part, but it's okay. We know that you must select the key features, you must compare where relevant, make comparisons, and so on. With part three, you might, part three, with task one, you might do a 3-paragraph approach, might take a 3-paragraph approach or a 4-paragraph approach. Most people nowadays tend to go with the 4-paragraph approach. I see online that's the approach that most people recommend. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned. I quite like the 3-paragraph approach for writing task one, and a lot of the course books that are released by Cambridge or Oxford, they also recommend the 3-paragraph approach, but really doesn't matter. You can do 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs. We need a paraphrase. We need a paraphrase of this thing in the introduction. We also then need an overview. It's absolutely essential that you give an overview. If you want the band 6 or more in writing task 1, you must at least attempt an overview. The key features, and the overview, you'll say what the key features from the information are, but without giving details. And then you have 2 more paragraphs then, give details on key feature 1 and give details on key feature 2. That's if you follow the 4-paragraph structure. But okay, let's see. The line graph illustrates the linkage. I'd say maybe just link is fine here. It's not a mistake, I think. Linkage feels like an abstract now, but I don't know. The link, the relationship. What word did they use? They already used the relation. No, they used here the relationship between age. The correlation, perhaps? The correlation between age and crime. Or the link, connection between age and crime. But, linkage, bit strange. Between age and crime, units measured in years and tens of thousands, respectively. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Very clear, easy to understand. While, great signposting language, showing we're going to talk about something else. The pie chart represents the breakdown of different types of criminal activities. Cool, I like this paraphrase. Instead of saying crime, they talk about criminal activities. I think that's a good collocation. Units measured in percent. Cool, in the UK last year. The question says for the last year, and the information in the chart say last year. So, okay, I'm happy with last year. We'll think of it as last year, and we'll go with past simple. Cool. So far, apart from this slightly awkward usage of the word linkage, everything is perfect. Everything is on topic. Great. Awesome. Easy to understand. A nice paraphrase. Great. Let's get to the overview. Overall, good signposting language to show that it is the overview. The majority of crimes were committed by individuals between 12 and 18 years old. Just going to check this information. 12 and I don't know, because if you say between 12, you're kind of including 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds, and I wouldn't put it there. I would draw the line more there. I would go, okay, 70,000, 80,000, 70,000, where you have 16-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and maybe down to 22-year-olds. So I would say between 16 and 22 rather than 12. So I don't think that's exactly accurate. I mean, it's accurate enough, but it could be more precise. Between 12 and 28-year-old. Not years old. By individuals between 12 and 28 years old. But children below the age Children below the age of 8. So I love this below the age of 8. Below the age of 8 is very good language. Did not engage in any illegal activity. So again, she's paraphrasing, engage in, cool, nice, very nice collocation there. But is this really a relevant stat? When we look at this, is the key takeaway, if you look at this information and you say, wow, and your friend says, what? Would you really say, people under the age of 8 don't commit crimes? That's not the takeaway, right? So the first key takeaway really should be this number here, between 16 and 22-year-olds. That's the first key takeaway. Now move to the second key takeaway, which is just this one. And that's what you should include in your overview, just the key takeaways. the bits of information that you would tell your friends, right? If you're as cool as I am and you go to the pub and you hang out with your friends and you say, you'll never guess what, I saw some statistics about the relationship between age and crime in the UK last year. But if somebody asks you, what is this information about? You would say, okay, mostly people between the age of about 16 and 22 commit most of the crimes or committed most of the crimes in the UK last year, and about half of the crimes were violent crimes. Those are the key takeaways, not children under the age of 8 didn't commit any crimes. So that's not really a relevant thing to include. Yeah, I'll make this part red. That's not really the thing to include in the overview. Speaking of types of crime, so speaking of, it's just slightly informal. It could be more academic, maybe with regards to types of crime, concerning types of crime. Speaking of is okay. It's kind of neutral, informal. I just think there are more academic, alternatives. So with regards to, regarding, concerning, types of crime, almost a half of crimes were violence related, whereas public order crime had the lowest rate. Cool. Okay, again, public order crime had the lowest rate. You might want to include that. I don't think that's necessarily irrelevant information, but you know, this is the key bit of information which you have selected. Cool. Good. So we get a decent overview. A good overview in terms of language. We're wonderful. Again, just one slight, minor, tiny slip with speaking of. Some examiners might not mark it down at all. I just think there are more academic alternatives that could, you know, make your language look better. So I don't know if you would lose points for this, but certainly there are ways of scoring points by using with regards to. Okay, and also just this this irrelevant information with like, oh, did you hear that kids under the age of 8 didn't engage in illegal activities? Not really that relevant. And also, I don't know about 12 and 28. So a good attempt at an overview. I would say a good attempt, but not massively precise, not perfectly precise. But okay, let's continue. Okay, concerning, good, very nice signposting language. Concerning the line graph, adolescents, cool, between 12 and 16. You're repeating stuff here. We've already had that. The majority of crimes were committed by individuals between 12 and 28 years old. And now we get adolescents between 12 and 16 misconducted the most. Is that true? Adolescents between 12 and 16 misconducted the most between 12 and 16? Yeah, I guess you could add up those crimes. But the thing to focus on really is the 20-year-olds, no? The 20-year-olds commit more crime than anyone else. I think that's really where the focus should be. And we don't need to repeat our idea. We can just get straight into the statistics. Misconducted the most, as there was a huge leap. So I see what you mean, that the jump between 12 and 16-year-olds was the most dramatic jump. But I don't know if it's fair to say that they misconducted the most, because as a group, maybe as a group they did. Difficult to really work out. Okay. There was a huge leap from around 5,000 to 70,000 respectively. So between 12 and 16, we should see 5,000 year to 70,000 year. Now that is a huge leap, but it sounds... I don't know if it is a leap, because it's not dynamic. Again, this is a static and not moving thing. So when we talk about leaps and rises and increases and decreases and falls and plateaus, we usually think of those in a dynamic sense, over time. But this isn't over time. It's static. Even though it's a line graph, and most line graphs are not static, I don't know if we can use leap here. So, just not sure. But nice language, a huge leap. Okay, respectively. I like the use of this candidate's use of respectively. Good stuff. I like the use of this candidate's use. After that, the number of crimes significantly increased. And again, sounds more like candidate is describing a dynamic line graph. Once again, to a peak of 80. Again, peak. Okay, we could say peak here. Peak. I just think there are easier ways of because it's static. An easier way of saying it is that the age at which most people, or the age that people committed the most crimes was 20, accounting for 80,000 in comparison with 16-year-olds at 70,000 and, I don't know, 24-year-olds at 60,000 or something like that. And then decreased exponentially again. So this decreased exponentially is something that we would use to talk about a line graph over time. By 60,000% for people age 28. Yeah, I guess that is an exponential, in terms of line graph, it is an exponential fall. But again, it's static, not dynamic. But okay. But candidate is showing this good language. It's not the most precise here, but it is good language. Furthermore, good signposting language. There was a steady decrease with a minimum of around 70,000 crimes for 60-year-olds. Cool. Yeah, candidate is using a nice range of details here, going from the youngest all the way to the oldest. But it's really strange to me that the candidate selected, below the age of 8 as a meaningful thing to put in the overview, but then didn't see it as a meaningful thing to talk about in the details, which is a bit strange. But okay, the pie chart. So now we don't have to worry about this static dynamic thing. Pie chart here is, hopefully we will see this use more static language here. Regarding the pie chart, cool, good signposting language. 46% of all crimes were of a violent nature. So it's strange, isn't it? Because you probably learn that nature is an uncountable noun, and we shouldn't use or un with uncountable nouns. But there is this little strange rule in English called the re-evaluation of uncountable nouns, something like that. Basically, it means that with some uncountable nouns, when we put an adjective before it, we often use a. So, for example, knowledge, we don't say a knowledge, but a working knowledge of something. Nature, we generally don't use a nature, but a violent nature. I know, English. Ужас. Ужас. While, nice signposting language, only 9% of offences occurred in the domain of, and in the domain of, candidate is really showing off some nice vocab, in the domain of public order, full stop. However, good signposting language, there was no noticeable difference in numbers between drug, 22%, and property crimes, 23%. Great. Cool, really nice details of this pie chart. Really, fully informed on this part. Great job. Okay, so kind of feel bad for the candidate because that line graph really looks like, that is rising exponentially and falling dramatically and things like this. Tough. But okay, let's give some marks, shall we? Task achievement. So I think I can award 7 for this. I can't award higher simply because I don't like the lack of precision in the overview. With this, I also feel like this is a little bit irrelevant in the overview, but I still think the overview was successful. I'm absolutely 100% band 9 informed on this second paragraph, and I am fully informed on this one despite the candidate using more dynamic language rather than static language, but I am on the whole informed on it. So I think can award C1 task achievement of 7. Coherence and cohesion. Candidate demonstrates an absolutely perfect knowledge of balance, how long the introduction should be, how long the overview should be, and also the body paragraphs giving the details. candidate really, looks like she studied her model text. She knows how to write this stuff. So the paragraph structure, absolutely perfect. Signposting language is wonderful. Again, just because of the static versus dynamic stuff, I think sometimes that just loses a little bit of coherence. If you're talking about falling exponentially for static things, it can affect coherence. I feel bad only giving a 7 because candidate definitely deserves higher, definitely deserves an 8. With a more friendly task, I fully expect the candidate to get, maybe 8 for task achievement and maybe 8 or 9 for coherence and cohesion. Lexical resource. Again, so I've taken marks off for coherence for the for this dynamic language, so I won't penalize it twice. I think, apart from linkage, which is slightly strange, anything else there that's slightly strange? I really don't see anything else there that I feel isn't, like, wouldn't be suitable for, an L1 university student. So I think I can award actually the 9 for lexical resource. Really demonstrates very impressive lexical resource. In terms of grammar, then, okay, illustrates present simple. We expect a lot of present simple. We could see some maybe passive voice here, represents. Units measured, cool. This is a reduced relative clause. Units which are measured. This is good complex grammar. We're committed, past simple passive, cool. Cool. We get complex sentence. Did not engage in. Okay, let's vocab. So past simple active, no problem. Get a nice superlative noun, the lowest rate. There are constructions in the past. We get participle clause. Yeah, again, I don't see, and you don't really have to do. You could think, well, the candidate didn't use it, like there wasn't any amazing grammar to be used here. This is a very mechanical task, this task one. You're just basically explaining data. There is no room for, not only was there blah, 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 blah. So I would award the 9 for this again. I think, all of the grammar is super accurate, apart from that one miss of with violent nature. I don't really care about that tiny, tiny grammar mistake. So there is maximum control, and there is also, a variety of grammar, which is absolutely appropriate for the task. So for me, I can award 9 for the grammatical range and accuracy here. So overall, the candidate has a score of band 8.0. I expect in the actual task, in the actual exam, I hope the candidate gets 8.5, but I wouldn't recommend changing anything. Keep going as you're going. You're doing a wonderful job. 8.0 is absolutely fantastic. There are very, very, very few people who get 8.0 in writing. So yeah, keep it up. Amazing, amazing work. If you disagree with anything that I say, please do leave a comment. It's nice to see more and more people telling me that I'm wrong. That's nice. And also, if you would like your own writing check, if you'd like me to check your IELTS writing, or if you would like me to give you a free practice speaking test with feedback, then you can apply for this in the Telegram channel. A link to that Telegram channel is given in the description below. But for now, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.